Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha Kudash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And I just wanted to mention dealing with this whole trucking situation where you have a lot of these, they call them convoys, convoys, where you have truckers getting together, and protesting. And now they're saying that it's not just at the Canadian border or in Canada, but in other parts of the world as well. All right. And so, I have this article here from zerohedge.com. And, the thing about this is now starting to pick up steam. We're starting to hear more and more about it. And a lot of people don't think as to how essential truckers actually are, for society, because the way the system is set up, the way these countries are set up, that's why you have national trade and whatnot. Now, when you trade and you export things and you import things, right? Yeah, you may go by ship, but when it gets to the docks, somebody needs to take those things from that area to the factories or to the stores or wherever they need to go. If it's raw material, it might need to be taken to a factory, to be converted into whatever form, is needed. All right. And if it's just straight up, goods, they could just take it to the stores that are needed or that need it. So when you have requirements in place, okay, that are prohibiting these truckers, okay, from doing their job, because a lot of them go, interstate, and some of them go from US to Canada back and forth, and they get, that's how they do their job. So now a lot of them are being prohibited from doing that based on certain requirements that are set. And so I have this article here. I'm going to read a bit of it, but this is going to cause a lot. If this is not resolved or handled or dealt with, it's going to cause an even bigger strain on the supply chain. All right. Especially dealing with food, because there's already been announcements being made about global food prices reaching record highs. All right. So now with the food shortages, with the lack of transportation of things, okay, with the inflation going on, what do you think is looking like? A recipe for disaster. And if that's how the year is starting, then as these things get worse and worse, eventually it's going to boil over. And who is going to be affected? The consumers. Really, everybody. But when it comes to food, things get really, really crazy, because food riots are a different kind of riot, right? When somebody is rioting because they're hungry, that's you gotta watch. You gotta watch out. So, it's looking like another form of engineered chaos, but we have to watch and see. So now it says how truckers protest triggered state of emergency in Ottawa. The city's mayor has described the action as a threat to the safety and security of residents. Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson declared a state of emergency in Canada's capital on Sunday, following 10 consecutive days of trucker protests against the Sikiwiki requirements in the downtown part of the city. He stated the demonstration was a threat to people's security, as large trucks have blocked the downtown area. The government isn't planning to give in to the truckers' demands, which began with wanting exemptions from the requirements, but now have expanded to calls for the Prime Minister to step down. See, now they say it started because of the requirement, the Canadian, I believe, requirement that went in effect January 15, that required all truckers crossing from the US, to have been partakers, right? They gotta have, they gotta have done what they gotta do, right? And so a lot of them are saying nah, and it started off with, well, you know what, we're not gonna do it, but we gotta work at the same time. And at first, as we read it or say it, they were exempted. Slaki, at first they were exempted, but now, as like I said, as we read, you'll see that they're holding a firm stance. And now the truckers are saying, look, we don't want just to be exempted from requirements. We want more now. We want you to scrap all these measures, and we want some of these officials to resign. So now they want more. Now, as they do this back and forth, and these countries say, we're going to stand our ground, we're going to stand firm and whatnot, when it starts to strain that supply chain even more, all right, that's when things are going to get tough. But we understand that there is a plan in the workings to lead to this chaos, because from chaos comes order. So let's see, it says, is Trudeau's government prepared to meet protesters halfway? The Canadian government has made it clear it will stand its ground on the CWICI public safety the CWICI requirements. Public Safety Minister Marco Medicino, however it's pronounced, told journalists on Sunday that the government had put the question of requirements on the ballot, during the 2021 election, and was simply carrying out the promise that we made with the support of the vast majority of Canadians. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who had to leave his downtown home last weekend due to security concerns, has branded the truckers a small fringe minority. Okay, now let's see. I want to find the area, because it said that for a while they were exempted, from this because of fears of the strain on the supply chain. Okay, which I can't find the part in this article at the moment, but I pretty much just said, oh, here we go. It says here, Canadian Prime Minister who had to leave his no, not this part. Let's see, can I find it? If not, then I already delivered the message anyway, right? So nevertheless, they feared, right, that this would lead to a strain on the supply chain, but then you turn around and you do it anyway. So what do you think is going to happen? You know what this is all going to lead to? Matthew 24, Luke 21, Mark 13, the fulfillment of prophecy, just as it was prophesied by our Lord and the various other prophets. Famines are a big part of prophecy. All right, and since I mentioned it, now I have to go to it. Okay, maybe let's go to the one here in Luke 21. Okay. So let's see, Luke chapter 21 and 11. Well, verse 10, it says, "Then said he unto me, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom." And we're seeing that now. "And great earthquakes shall be in divers places, and famines, and pestilences, and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven." So as we're already seeing these signs, you're seeing more chariot sightings, you're seeing different mysterious things that are going on that are people cannot explain, and they post it on social media. These are all signs of the end time. But one of the things that was mentioned were earthquakes, famines, and pestilences. And we should understand by now how severe famines can get. Now, the thing about it is, yeah, these are going to be famines, but these, famines have happened in the world before. So this isn't going to be a first time that there's been a famine. But the problem with this kind of famine is that it's going to be worse than any other famine that has been known to man. Okay, it's going to be worse than any other famine that has been known to man. Why or how do we know that? Now, when you continue reading, or when you read in Matthew 24, verse 21, which goes along with Daniel 12:1, and it also goes along with Jeremiah 30:7, speaking of the time of Jacob's trouble, the one attribute you see in common that's labeled or put on Jacob's trouble is that it's going to be a time like never before. And written in different ways, but it says the same thing. So Matthew 24:21 says, "For then shall be great tribulation," meaning great trouble. And when you read in 2 Ezra 15, it talks about troubles, right? It talks about tribulation and lack of bread, causing people to break into others' houses and do things that society wouldn't normally see. It says, "For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be." So now take the time period of Jacob's trouble and use that as the dividing point of the world, right? And look at anything that has happened before Jacob's trouble. Nothing that has happened before Jacob's trouble up until the time of Jacob's trouble is going to compare to Jacob's trouble. And nothing that is going to happen after that second half is going to compare to Jacob's trouble. So that point in history, that point in time is going to be a big mark. You can imagine a big spike on the historical timeline. So now nothing is going to compare to it. Is that it going to be in the good sense or the bad sense? Well, majority is going to be in the bad sense, because it says here, "There shall be great tribulation, such as was not." So it's going to be a troubling time, and the trouble is going to be so bad that there's going to be no other time of trouble that can be compared to this time of trouble. So what are some examples of times of trouble? Natural disasters, earthquakes, famines, diseases, wars, chaos. These are examples of trouble. And those troubles, no matter how bad they've gotten, because there's some pretty brutal troubles that have happened in history before, and yet the Lord said those will not compare to this trouble. So what does that tell you about the times we're coming into? So, we say it, but these things are all like dominoes being put into place. And upon the commencing, all right, of the first domino falling, it's all going to hit one to another. It's going to set off chain reactions. And you may think, oh, no, this is not going to affect me. This is just truckers. They doing their thing. But, I'm not a trucker. All right. So what does that have to do with me? Well, you're going to see why there are truckers in society. You don't really notice these people until they're gone. Then you start feeling certain hardships and you're like, yo, why am I going through this? Then you realize, oh, the people whose jobs it was to alleviate this that I'm going through don't have a job anymore. Oh, okay. So I see why we had them. I see why it was important, for us to have them. Maybe I shouldn't have, taken it so lightly. But nevertheless, it can't be helped, because these prophecies have to come to pass. It has to happen. All right. Now there's a precept in here that I want to get, and then Lord willing, I could end it off with that. And let's see. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 8, verse 48. It says here, "In this also thou art marvelous before the Most High, in that thou hast humbled thyself as it becometh thee, and hast not judged thyself worthy to be much glorified among the righteous." And this is the angel speaking to the prophet Ezra. It says, "For many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter time shall dwell in the world." So are we not in the latter time? Well, we read in Matthew 24 and Luke 21 the signs of the last days. So if we're seeing those signs now, that means we're in the last days. And the last days is synonymous with the latter times. So we are in the latter times. And that's why the Lord said, these are the beginning of sorrows. So 2 Ezra 8 and 50, 8 and 50, for many great miseries shall be done to them in the latter time, or that in the latter time shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride. And that's why when you read Malachi 4 and 1 and various other scriptures, Isaiah 13, it tells you how the Lord is going to cause the arrogancy to cease. He's going to do away with the pride, because a lot of people are the most proud they've ever been, and yet in the most defiled and worst condition they've ever been in. It says, verse 51, but understand thou for thyself and seek out the glory of such as be like thee. Okay? For unto you is paradise opened. The tree of life is planted. The time to come is prepared. Plenteous is made ready. A city is builded, and rest is allowed. Yea, perfect goodness and wisdom. And that's going to be the kingdom of heaven. The rest for the nation of Israel, starting with the elect. Those that the second death has no power on them. Those that will be delivered. All right. Those that though they scarcely make it, they're still going to make it. And that's why Paul said, for here we have no continuing city, but we seek one to come. In the book of Micah 2 and 10, it says, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. Our rest is to come. Verse 53, the root of evil is sealed up from you. Weakness and the moth is hid from you, and corruption is fled into hell to be forgotten. Yeah, because in that time, when we get delivered and we get beamed up and we get changed, and we're ushering in the kingdom of heaven, there will be no corruptness among Israel. Sorrows are past, and in the end is shewed the treasure of immortality. So what should come to mind? Revelation 21, which is a good precept as well. It says, and therefore as thou know, 1 Corinthians 15th chapter, Philippians 3 and 20 on down. Therefore ask thou no more questions concerning the multitude of them that perish. For when they had taken liberty, they despised the Most High, thought scorn of his law, and forsook his ways. So what's going to happen to them? All right, Slaki, give me 1 second. All right, so because they forsook the ways of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, what does this say? And check this out. It says, moreover, they have trodden down his righteous. So they didn't regard the laws of the Lord. They trodden down the righteous. So now it says, verse 58, and said in their heart that there is no God. Yea, and that knowing they must die. That's what the Lord said. They must die. They must die. So if that's not a wake-up call for those of you who are out here playing games, well, then I don't know what's going to wake you up. Verse 59, for as the things aforesaid shall receive you, right? Meaning what we read about the rest and the city being built and the plentiness or the plenteousness, right? So as those things are going to receive you, which Ezra and the rest of the elect, so, right, thirst and pain are prepared for them, for the wicked. For it was not his will that men should come to naught, but they which be created have defiled the name of him that made them, and were unthankful unto him which prepared life for them. And therefore is my judgment now at hand. So there you go. So as we see the things unfolding and taking place in the world, there is an end goal. There's a reason why the things happening in the world are happening the way they are. It's not going to get better. All right. These things have to keep getting worse so that the prophecy concerning them can be fulfilled, so that they can implement the MOTB. All right. Which is the charagma. OK, so that they can institute their famines and do all this in their minds for control, but the Lord is going to allow them to do it to fulfill prophecy. So famines are coming in a big way. People will starve to death. That's in the book of 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter. There's going to be famines. Many that dwell on the earth shall perish of famine, and those that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So a lot of people are going to suffer. The times we're coming into is not going to be times of relief. So we do these videos to warn you, so that if you are doing what you have to do, following the ways of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, keep doing that. If you are not, then you need to repent and stop the things that you were doing and start doing what you got to do according to the Lord. And you want to find that out, watch the videos. You'll find out what you have to do, because the time is very short. And the patience of the Lord, man, that's once that elect is sealed, once the destruction starts, that's it. That's it. So with that, I hope you were edified. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.